Whether you have pain in your back or joints, surgery may not be the answer. Instead of the dangers involved in cutting out tissue, consider healing and rejuvenating the area with stem cells, platelet-rich plasma, or prolotherapy. The treatments that are available to professional athletes are now available for you. Watch the videos at jointrehab.com or call the Darrow Wellness Institute at 800-300-9300. 800-300-9300. That's 800-300-9300.
Welcome back to Living Pain-Free with Dr. Marc Darrow. We're taking your calls right here, right now at 866-870-5752, right here in the studio, 866-870-5752. When you phone the show today, you get Dr. Darrow's latest book for free, Stem Cell and Platelet Therapy, subtitled Regenerate, Don't Operate. It has 264 scientific studies. And check out the website at www.lastemcells.com. That's www.lastemcells.com, where you can email Dr. Darrow off of every page on the site and watch him performing the treatments on videos. Do you want to go to our first caller?
Absolutely. This is Dr. Marc Darrow.
Dr. Darrow, are you there?
I am here.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. You want to go to our first caller, or do you want to say something first? Okay. Here comes Vic. Vic, hear you fine. Vicky in Marina Del Rey.
Vicky, Dr. Marc Darrow, how are you today?
Hi, Dr. Darrow. I'm in my car. Can you hear me?
Beautiful, yes.
Oh, good. Over the pandemic, I started to text and play games on my phone. I've never had problems with my wrist or my thumb until probably it started a year ago, and it's gotten worse. I'm wearing a brace on my wrist and my thumb. I'm also a Pilates instructor, so I'm in pretty good health. And I heard you talking about Joe Weider. I probably am the same age as him, and I'm very aware of him. I've been in the fitness industry for 40 years, but I'd like to know, I'm petrified of needles. And I went in, and I had cortisone injections in my thumb and my wrist, and I went through the roof. It was so freaking painful.
How high was the roof?
Oh, my God. I screamed. I mean, oh, God, don't ask.
All right, so first of all, look,
needles.
Vicky, listen.
Yeah.
No one likes getting a shot, you know. The needles I use are the smallest possible. The one I would use on your wrist and your thumb joint or wherever else it is are what are called 30-gauge needles. So it's like an acupuncture needle.
Okay.
Have you ever had acupuncture?
Yes.
Not a big deal. You survived that. The other thing we can do, and we don't have to do it often, but when someone comes in, actually, most people who come in like you who give that story, they don't have a problem at all. And we also freeze the area with a cold spray, so that's another additional thing. But if someone really is really anxious, we'll give them some Xanax, which is a sedative. It comes on in about 5 minutes, and it leaves the body pretty much in a couple hours. So, no, we don't have problems with people getting injections. And I inject...
that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, you're still not going to love getting poked. No one loves it. I've had acupuncture done on me probably 50 times, and I don't love it. But you do things that work, you know, and you put aside your fears sometimes to get the better benefit. I have had a couple of people come in over the last 20 plus years who, when they find out that my procedure is using needles, they go, I'm just going to get surgery. I don't want a shot. And I laugh and I go, if you get surgery, you're going to get plenty of shots. So, you know, I understand your mental point of view. I don't think you'll have a problem. No one so far has had a real problem with this. You heard me say this if you ever listen to the show. I inject myself when I injure myself. So, you know, it's not a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah. So wrist and thumbs usually heal up very, very quickly. My first injury that I used this treatment, regenerative medicine on, was my right wrist, and it healed 50% overnight. It was useless for a long time. It was so painful. And there's if you ever get a chance to look at my wrist, if you come and I'll show it to you, there's a great big lump on it from the injuries. I've had, I'm going to probably say I've had, I'll make it up a number, I've had over 100 injuries to my wrist because I do sports very, very heavy. But I can honestly say I can't remember the last time I had any pain in my wrist. And I play golf and I lift weights and do whatever I want to do. So my wrist is good. Back in the day when it first was injured, I had to inject it myself, maybe 5 times or so to get it healed up. It was pretty bad. So there's good hope for your wrist and your thumb. And don't put steroids in there. If you look up cortisone on Google, you'll see that it dissolves away the tissue, makes it worse. It makes it feel good for a little bit, but it's not going to last in most cases, and it's not healthy for the tissue. And I have had people that have had their tendons dissolve away completely from multiple steroid or cortisone injections. So it's something I stay away from as much as possible. Once in a blue moon I might do it, but it's not my mainstay. My mainstay is growing the tissue back using platelets and stem cells and other things that are in those, in the marrow, in the bone marrow, which we use. There's platelets and stem cells and exosomes and cytokines and growth factors of all kinds. So it's a really great treatment. I've been doing this on myself for over 20 years. Every single place I've injected, which is a lot of places, I've done both of my knees, both of my shoulders, my elbows, my right wrist. I had broke some ribs. I fell on the back. On my back, I injected those. And what else? I've had other people do my neck and back because I can't reach back there. But every single area that I've done regenerative medicine on in my body has gotten better. Every single time. Okay. Sometimes it takes more than one treatment. Great. I'm not going to say this is a panacea or a magical wand. It definitely is not. And you have to listen to the doctor because people want to go back to their sport immediately. That's the biggest thing I hear about in LA is how soon can I get back to exercising? And sometimes it's very frustrating because you have to wait a little bit for the area to heal up before you beat it up again. So, that's how it works. You got to let it heal. You got to let the tissue grow. We know tissue grows. We know cartilage grows. But how soon you feel better is always an enigma to me. I don't have the answer. Everybody says how soon, and I go, I don't know. Sometimes it's overnight. I've had people walk out of the office. I just had someone 2 days ago. I injected them, and as soon as I injected them, they said, I can't believe this. My pain is gone. I haven't heard back from them yet. I follow up with patients. They come back in 2 weeks. Hopefully they're the miracle one, but it's not always like that. It's rarely like that. It's usually, people usually take about 6 weeks or so to heal up, sometimes more. My worst injury was my right shoulder that took several months, and I was getting very frustrated with it. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't rest it the whole time like I would tell other patients to do because I always know I can just inject it any day I want. So I didn't take the best care of it, but it did take a few months for it to heal. And for those of you looking on the video right now, my arm is up in the air. I'm flailing it around. It feels great. So.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I'll definitely make an appointment because that injection I got, the needle was so big. I mean, when I tell you those cortisone shots, those needles are huge. And I didn't even look, but I could feel when he injected me, and he held it there for at least 5 seconds while he was injecting. I said, oh, my God, I just never felt that kind of pain in my life.
Well, I don't have that issue with injections. The needle I use, you probably won't even be able to see it. It's so small. It's a 30-gauge needle.
Good. Well, I will call you.
It's very teeny. And then we're going to freeze it if we do it because we know that you're sensitive. And if you're really anxious, some people get anxious, we give you some Xanax to chill you out. And you just have to have someone drive you to the office and drive you home.
Okay.
All right, Vicki. God bless you.
Thank you, Vicki.
Good hope for you. I can't promise anything, but there's good hope that you can heal up from what you're telling me.
Thank you, Vicki. And our number is 870-5752. Hurry up, we're running out of time. And let's go to John in Camarillo.
Hey, John, Dr. Marc Darrow, and I understand that your hip bothers you. How long has it bothered you for?
Yeah, doctor, the reason I think you may have answered my question already. I was calling to find out if prolotherapy or stem cell therapy could repair any damage that may have been caused by tissue or cartilage, tissue or cartilage, by a series of cortisone shots that I had administered on my hip over a year, every year for about 4 years.
Okay, yes.
And I think you answered that question.
Yeah, I'm not telling you exactly what happened to you because I don't know, but generally, and again, Google the word cortisone and look for side effects, and you'll see that when I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. A lot of times people are okay, they have some pain, but they're okay. They get a cortisone shot, and then they get terrible down the road. Or people like you have had it every year get terrible. So it's not something that I know.
I felt great. I had great results, and because of a cyst at L4, a synovial cyst on my spine.
You had a hip pain because of the synovial cyst?
Pardon me?
You had hip pain because of a synovial cyst in your back? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
that makes no sense.
No, I had a pain in my back, not on my hip necessarily, but that's where they gave me the shot.
So you had a shot in your back?
Yeah, my hip, my right hip.
Your hip. Okay. Well, I'm not sure.
He went in there under ultrasound on it, watching the screen.
Okay.
And carefully placed it.
Okay. So when people talk about parts of their body, they're often mistaken. So when you talk about your hip, you may be talking about the part of your buttocks that's up high, right below.
Yes, that's back. Right. It's about the iliac crest or the ilium.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a little different. That's not really your hip. The hip is a joint. Okay. People that have hip pain, it's generally in the groin area. Not always. Sometimes it can be in the butt, but generally it's in the groin area. And the cyst, I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the pain. Low back pain and where the attachment is on the iliac crest that you're talking about, the pelvis, the top of it, is generally from Anita's favorite word, an enthesopathy. If you look up enthesis on Google, you'll see what that is. It's where the ligaments and tendons and muscle attaches to bone. And a steroid shot there is much better than a steroid shot in the hip joint, because there's no real cartilage there to destroy, like there would be in the hip joint or the shoulder joint or the knee joint or the finger joints or wherever.
Well, I do have an arthritic hip.
Okay, that's a different story, though. You got two for the price of one, it sounds like. You poor guy. Yeah. I'd have to, if you're having issues, come on in. The phone number of the office is 800-300-9300. And I'd need to touch the area and see what's really going on, and then move you around, do an examination, and see where the pain is really being generated from. If it is a hip problem, that's the joint I'm talking about, not where you're talking about. And then there's all kinds of other areas where people call their hip around the...
It isn't a hip problem.
Okay, good.
I'll be very honest with you. I came in to see you, and you examined me, and you said, you looked at 2 x-rays and an MRI on my hip, and you said, yeah, you have an arthritic hip, but I don't see it as a problem. And you were kind enough to put me on the table, move me around, find out what it was, and you said the pain area is right over your ilium.
Okay.
Your iliac crest.
Okay, good.
So
good. That's how I roll. Old-fashioned medicine, touch the patient.
My question again, so then, what I want to, I haven't had I had a synovial cyst, an MRI a while back, and the cyst is no longer there. But the pain is still there. So I thought perhaps it was damage.
I don't think it's from the cyst. If you had a giant synovial cyst and was pressing on a nerve, you'd have leg pain, not typically back pain, although it's possible. And a lot of people have cysts all over their body or in the bones or whatever, and it's not really an issue. So, and especially that it's gone. I mean, a cyst is a fluid-filled sac. It probably was never an issue to begin with. But I don't know. I'm not your doc. we're just surmising on talking on the radio. And all I can tell you is God bless you, and if you want to come in, you know how to get me.
I sure do. Thank you,
all right,
Doctor,
John.
very much.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you
John.
so much.
Appreciate your call. Our number here in the studio is 866-870-5752, and we'll go to Michelle in Fraser Park.
Hey, Michelle, Dr. Marc Darrow, how are you today? I understand your shoulder bothers you.
Yes, I call myself a walking cadaver. I have had everything.
Don't do that.
I am. I wait till I can't stand it anymore, and then I go get it fixed.
Okay.
But this recently, I had a back surgery because I had a synovial cyst leaning on my sciatica nerve. So for 7 months, I was in extreme, terrible pain before I finally decided I have to do something to go see the surgeon, finally.
Okay.
I tried everything, physical therapy. I thought I was going to die in physical therapy. Anyway, the bottom line is, while I was trying to get through that, I couldn't get up unless I used my arm to get up from a chair. I had about an hour's window before I'd have to run back to that chair, take a pill, so I could get past an hour and a half relief.
Okay.
The bottom line is, I retore, I think is what happened. I retore my rotator cuff, which I had surgery on the year before.
Okay.
So I don't want to have another surgery. I'm sick of being a cadaver.
Okay, I understand.
I'm listening to your show. And I'm saying this has to be a way, something for me to get help.
Okay. Well, first of all, Nita and I right now are going to pray for you, and we're going to put light all over your body and wake it up and give you a lot of hope and joy and make you feel good. And Nita and I both are very philosophical, and we believe what you say you become in a certain sense. So I would stop using that walking cadaver business analogy.
Really?
And just say, you've had some pain in your body and you've had, surgery, rotator cuff surgery in your shoulder that didn't come out the way you expected. But the good news is we can probably help you with that and heal it up. I haven't examined you yet, so I don't know the answer to that. But most people that are moving their arm around a little bit, I can help. Sometimes people have frozen shoulders.
Yes, a little bit.
Some people have frozen shoulders.
I'm trying to use it as little as possible, but
okay. Well, you ought to be stretching your shoulder out every day.
I just got done having it. What?
You know what we're going to do? We're going to take you off the radio right now, Michelle, and we're going to talk about your issues so I can say something. No disrespect, by the way. I know you're excited. So the rotator cuff are a series of tendons that come from muscles that attach to the humerus bone, which is the arm bone, that move the shoulder around. And if you're in pain and have a shoulder pain issue, you still need to move that shoulder around. And what I do is I have people use a golf club or a broom or a pole to push it up in the air gently, because if you don't stretch your shoulder out, there's a very high probability you'll end up with adhesive capsulitis, which is very, very difficult and slow to heal because the capsule around the shoulder just tightens up and then you can't move it at all. And I had that happen to both of my shoulders before I knew what was going on. I've healed both of them with platelets and stem cells. Okay, I've injected both of my shoulders and healed them up. But you want to make sure. I actually stretch my shoulders every single day, at least a couple times a day. I'll do it in a doorway. I'll grab the door jamb, whatever it is. When I'm showing patients how to do it in the office, I do it also. And I have to keep my shoulders limber because they get injured all the time because I do sports hard. And shoulders have the biggest range of motion of any joint, so they have more difficulty in staying intact without being injured. So the rotator cuff injuries that I see, the tears, the labral tears, the rotator cuff tears, all that stuff, we generally can heal up It doesn't mean the tear heals, because the tear doesn't equal pain. When studies are done of people's shoulders who have zero pain, they find rotator cuff tears. My personal shoulder, my right shoulder, has a subscapularis tear, it has a supraspinatus tear, and it has a labral tear, and I have no pain in my shoulder. So go figure that out.
That's
in
amazing.
other words, don't jump to the surgeon. I did jump to the surgeon when I was in medical school, and it came out bad. And no fault of the surgeon. It just happens. My arm blew up like a balloon full of fluid. Probably a lymphatic was cut inadvertently. And I had a high fever, and I was terrified. And it just never healed until I injected it myself back in the day when I first learned about regenerative medicine. And that made me a total believer in this kind of medicine. I've done my wrist, I've done my elbows, I've done my shoulders, my knees, my neck, my back, some broken ribs, and I'm out ready to go. I live in the mountains. I'm going to go running up there today and do exercise as much as I want. I'm in good shape. If I injure myself again, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to inject it and get it better. So there's good hope for all of you that are suffering from musculoskeletal pain. There's good hope for people that think they need surgery that really don't. But you have to go to someone who's not a surgeon to find out. You can go to 10 surgeons, and they're all going to tell you pretty much the same thing, because that's how we're trained as surgeons. We think surgery is the best thing in the world. And unfortunately, the studies show that it isn't. And my book, which you guys who call in are getting a copy of, Regenerative Medicine, is something that can heal you without surgery. Not everybody. It's not for everybody. It doesn't heal everything. You've got to pick your patients properly, just like surgeons should properly pick their patients, and not just do all these little surgeries on meniscal tears. By the way, studies show that getting a surgery, a real one, on a knee versus a fake one in a knee for meniscal tears comes out the same. So why take the risk? Go get a fake one. Nita, you're supposed to laugh.
Well, yeah, I'd get the fake one. Do you want to talk to James in Santa Monica?
I do. James, your neck is bothering you. How long has that been going on for?
I have I was diagnosed by MRI of a bone spur on my C3, C4 into the spinal canal, and it's actually compressing my spinal cord.
Okay. The big question is, do you have pain down your... Do you have pain down your arm?
I do.
Which arm is it?
I have numbness, actually, in my hand, left.
Okay. Where does it go? Where does it start? Where does it finish?
The little finger and the ring finger are pretty well involved.
Okay.
Index finger and thumb, not so much. Middle finger, a little bit.
Okay. So C3, C4 is generally not involved with where your pinky is. Okay, that's usually like C7, C8. So I'm not so sure that bone spur has anything to do with what's going on with you. Have you had a nerve conduction study and an EMG?
Yes.
And what did they show?
Elder nerve, a deficiency in transmission of the ulnar nerve.
Okay.
That's
You're going to have to email me, and we'll get more information. Actually, we'll call you at we'll get a hold of you. Our number at the office is 800-300-9300. If you want to email me, the email address is www.lastemcells.com. I have a lot more information for you, James, and hopefully we'll keep you from a surgery. God bless you, Nita, and everyone else on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Living Pain-Free with Dr. Marc Darrow. Now that you've heard Dr. Darrow, you can schedule an appointment to talk with him in person by calling his office anytime at 800-300-9300. That's 800-300-9300. Or go online to lastemcells.com. Again, the website is lastemcells.com. Living Pain-Free with Dr. Marc Darrow is heard every Saturday at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. here on AM 870 The Answer. Remember, to take the first step toward a pain-free life, schedule an appointment by calling 800-300-9300. That's 800-300-9300. Live long and pain-free. And thanks for joining us today.